Every night you die, not metaphorically. There is a moment where your name, your memories, your worries, your plans for tomorrow, your entire story disappear. No dreams, no images, no inner voice, just a blackout so complete that you, as a person, are gone. And yet the next morning you open your eyes and say, "I slept well." Who is saying that? You don't remember leaving. You don't remember returning. You never witness the moment you vanish, and you never witness the moment you reappear. There is just waking, and then another waking with a whole of nothing in between. We call that whole sleep, as if the word explained anything. It doesn't. It hides the real horror and the real mystery. For hours every single night, you stop existing, and you're not even there to notice. When you close your eyes and drift off, there is still a faint sense of being there. Thoughts are clumsy, images blur, the day dissolves into fragments. Then even that collapses. No hallway of light, no tunnel, no angels, not even darkness, because darkness is still something you could experience. There is just nothing. No space, no time, no inside, no outside. The world does not appear. The you that worries and remembers does not appear. Whatever you think you are, whatever you swear is real and solid, is gone without a trace, and yet something happens in that nothing. Because when you wake up, you don't panic. You don't look around the room screaming, "Where was I? What just happened to me for the last 6 hours?" You stretch, check your phone, complain about how tired you feel, and move on with your day as if you hadn't just disappeared from existence. So there has to be a subtle thread running through that emptiness, something that does not register as experience, but still keeps track. Something that survives the moment you vanish and quietly carries you across the gap. Call it the background. Call it the witness. Call it consciousness itself. Whatever it is, it knows enough to put you back together in the morning. It rebuilds your memories, reloads your worries, plugs you back into the story called My Life, and lets you continue the narrative exactly where you left off, like a film that was paused in the middle of a scene. Except there was no scene in the middle, just a cut, just a jump, just a blank frame you never saw. That blank frame is the first crack in what you think consciousness is. If you can vanish completely and still somehow return, then maybe consciousness is not just the thoughts in your head, or the feelings in your chest, or the images behind your eyes. Maybe the real mystery isn't how you experience the world. Maybe the real mystery is what keeps existing when you don't. For most of your life, you cycle through the same 3 states over and over again: dreamless sleep, dreaming, and waking. You treat them as ordinary, familiar, predictable, as if they were the whole map of consciousness. But look closely, and you'll notice something unsettling. None of these states are stable. None of them show you reality as it is. Each one is a different hallucination layered on top of the same silent background you slipped into during deep sleep. You think waking is the real one only because it lasts longer. But longevity does not equal truth. A convincing illusion is still an illusion. And these 3 states, they convince you every single day. Start with the one you barely remember, the void of dreamless sleep. It feels like nothing because the self is turned off, not paused, off. There's no perception, no time, no story. It's a blackout disguised as rest, and yet something persists underneath, or else you wouldn't wake up with the sense that anything happened at all. Even the absence was registered by something. Then dreams rise like smoke from that emptiness. Suddenly you are inside worlds made entirely of yourself. You become the architect, the actor, the bystander, and the witness all at once. Mountains appear because you decide without knowing you decided. Faces from memory melt into strangers who never existed. You fly, die, run, cry, fall, transform, and none of it alarms you. You don't stop and say, "This is impossible." It feels coherent until the moment you wake up and realize it never happened. But what is the difference, really? The dream only collapses when the mind compares it to waking life. Inside the dream, it was consistent, it was lawful, it was convincing. If a dream can feel real while being false, how sure are you that waking life feels real because it is true, and not simply because it is the most persistent hallucination you know? And then you arrive at waking, the state you trust the most. You open your eyes, and suddenly things have weight. A cup feels like a cup. Your body feels like your body. The world seems solid again. Sensations anchor you, time marches forward, cause leads to effect. Everything behaves, everything stays in place. But look a little deeper, and you'll see how fragile this state actually is. Your brain edits reality constantly, filtering, erasing, inventing, stitching together fragments into a continuous movie. Your eyes only take in a tiny slice of the light around you. Your ears only catch a sliver of the frequencies vibrating in the air. Your thoughts constantly rewrite the meaning of what you experience. The world you think you're perceiving is mostly a reconstruction inside your skull, a simulation rendered fast enough that you don't notice the missing pieces. And yet you cling to waking life as if it were a stable foundation. You call it reality because you've never stepped outside of it long enough to compare. You assume everyone sees the same world because it feels shared. You assume the ground is solid because you don't fall through it. You assume your senses are trustworthy because they rarely betray you in catastrophic ways. Waking feels safe because it behaves, but dreams behave too until they don't. And deep sleep behaves by erasing everything. 3 layers, 3 perspectives, 3 illusions. None of them show you what consciousness really is. They only show you what consciousness is doing at the moment. And beneath all 3, beneath images, thoughts, bodies, memories, there is something that does not change. Something that was there when you were nobody, when you were dreaming worlds, and when you were pretending to be a person awake in a stable universe. That something has been watching all 3 illusions your entire life. And if you follow those cracks closely enough, the whole simulation you call waking reality begins to tremble. You trust waking life because it feels consistent. Gravity holds you down. Walls stay where you left them. People respond when you speak. The world presents itself as a stable stage, and you assume that stability means truth. But stability can be manufactured. Order can be rehearsed. A simulation can run smoothly and still be a simulation. And the more carefully you examine waking life, the more seams you begin to notice. Tiny fractures that reveal just how much of your reality is stitched together inside your mind. Start with your senses. You think you see the world, but your eyes only receive a chaotic blur of photons. Your brain fills in the blanks, inventing borders, smoothing edges, correcting colors, stabilizing motion, and fabricating continuity. You never perceive the world as it is. You perceive the world as your nervous system can handle it. Everything you see is slightly delayed, an edited replay, not the live event. You don't notice the delay because your brain hides it from you. It patches holes in the visual field, reconstructs objects, and redraws reality in real time so you never see the glitches. You trust your hearing just as blindly, but your brain edits sounds before you hear them. It filters noise, suppresses contradictions, and merges fragments into a smooth, continuous experience. What you call the world is a symphony mixed by an internal engineer who refuses to show you the raw recording. Even time, your most unquestioned measurement, collapses under scrutiny. Time slows when you're afraid. It vanishes when you're distracted. It expands when you're waiting. It breaks apart in trauma. It disappears entirely in states of flow. If time were truly external and objective, it wouldn't bend around your attention like heat around flame. The cracks run deeper. The brain constantly fills in gaps in your memory. You think you remember events, but you mostly remember the last time you recalled them. Each retrieval rewrites the past. Even your identity is a patchwork, an ongoing negotiation between memory and imagination, pieced together so smoothly that you mistake the story for the storyteller. And then there are illusions so simple they should terrify you. Motion you see that isn't there. Colors your brain invents to fill the spectrum, shapes you recognize that never existed, perceptions altered by mood, expectation, belief. If you can be fooled easily, constantly, automatically, what does that say about the world you think you inhabit? The truth is unnerving. Waking life behaves like a dream stabilized by shared agreement. You and everyone around you hallucinate the world in roughly the same way, so you call it real. But agreement is not truth. Consensus is not certainty. A shared illusion is still an illusion. You wake up each morning and re-enter this simulation without noticing the loading process. The story of you boots up, your memories reload, your emotions come back online, your priorities reassemble. The entire character you call yourself reappears just in time to populate the world you believe you're perceiving. And yet, beneath all the noise, beneath seeing, hearing, thinking, remembering, something else is present. Something that is not constructed. Something that was there during the blackout of deep sleep, the chaos of dreams, and now during the fragile theater of waking life. That something does not change when the world changes. It does not vanish when the body shuts down. It does not distort itself when the senses are fooled. It is the one constant across all states. Waking life feels like the highest state of consciousness only because it's the loudest. But once you notice the cracks, the volume begins to lower. The illusion begins to flicker. And in that space between perception and the one who perceives, another layer of consciousness quietly begins to reveal itself. There comes a moment, rare, subtle, and almost accidental, when the machinery of thought slows down. Not because you're tired, not because you're bored, but because attention, for reasons you can't fully explain, turns inward instead of outward. And then you notice something impossible. Even when thoughts fade, you don't. The inner narration stops, but the one who was aware of the narration remains. The screen goes blank, but whatever was watching the screen is still present. This is the first fracture in the illusion that your mind is you. For your entire life, you've been trained to believe that consciousness is the voice in your head, the stream of commentary, the constant evaluation of what is happening. But the moment the commentary disappears, a different presence becomes visible, quiet, unmoving, aware of itself. Meditators have been describing this state for thousands of years, awareness without content. A kind of waking stillness where nothing is happening, yet you feel profoundly awake, as if the mind, after decades of pointing outward, finally turns around to see the one who has been looking the whole time. It doesn't feel like imagination. It doesn't feel like effort. It feels like returning to a place you forgot existed. Not a memory, but a familiarity deeper than memory. A home you somehow left without noticing. Thoughts try to intrude, of course. They always do. They comment on the silence, judge it, analyze it, try to label it. But if for even a breath you stay with that silence instead of following the thought, the mind collapses into something cleaner, simpler, more ancient. In that stillness, you realize the mind has been incredibly loud your entire life. Loud enough to drown out the truth that you were never the noise. You were the space it echoed through. For a moment, identity loosens. You're not the story. You're not the character in the story. You're not the emotions or the memories or the projections you cling to so tightly. You are the awareness, noticing all of those things come and go, flicker in and out of existence like light on water. Nothing dramatic happens externally. You don't levitate. You don't hear angels. You don't discover cosmic secrets. The world stays exactly the same. But your position within it shifts a few degrees, and that shift changes everything. Because once you see that you can exist without thinking, you start wondering what else you can exist without. Without fear, without desire, without the compulsive need to narrate your life as it unfolds. And beneath all the layers of noise, beneath the survival mechanisms and psychological habits, beneath everything you believed you needed in order to be someone, there is a silent witness that has been there all along. This witness is not mystical. It is not supernatural. It is simply what remains when the mind is quiet enough for you to notice what has always been underneath. A presence aware of itself. A consciousness not pointed at the world, but resting in its own light. It feels like standing in the space between thoughts, an impossible space because thoughts feel continuous, like a river that never stops. But once you glimpse the gap, the river is exposed as a chain of moments stitched together. And you begin to wonder who was watching those moments long before the river began. This is not imagination. This is not belief. This is the first step out of the simulation of waking life. The realization that you were never the voice inside your head. You were the one who was hearing it. At some point, the silence you glimpse doesn't vanish when the thoughts return. It lingers in the background like a second atmosphere. Still, steady, untouched. You can think, speak, worry, plan, and react, But underneath all of it, there's a depth that remains unmoved. It's as if consciousness stops flickering between inner and outer and begins holding both at once. You live your life as usual, but from a vantage point that doesn't collapse into the story. The body moves through the world. The awareness watches from a distance so intimate it feels impossible. You are both participant and spectator, both character and audience, both the wave and the ocean containing it. This is not disassociation, it's the opposite. You are more present than ever, but the presence is no longer confined to the body or the mind. Emotions rise like weather patterns, visible, palpable, sometimes intense, but they no longer swallow you whole. Anger burns and fades without leaving ashes. Fear shakes and dissolves without taking root. Sorrow moves through you like wind through an open room. None of it sticks because none of it claims to be you anymore. You still have preferences, personality, memories, and a sense of identity, but they stop feeling absolute. You see them as expressions of consciousness, not the container of it. The ego doesn't die. It simply loses its monopoly. It becomes one voice among many, not the ruler of your inner world. Daily life looks the same. You brush your teeth, send messages, go to work, cook dinner, laugh with friends. Nothing mystical, nothing dramatic, and yet something fundamental has changed. You live while simultaneously resting in the awareness that contains all living. Neuroscientists sometimes call this meta-awareness, sustained monitoring of internal and external experience at the same time, but the description feels too mechanical, too clinical. What you feel is far stranger. It's a quiet astonishment, a sense that something inside you has woken up while the rest of the world goes on as if nothing happened. You notice subtleties you never saw before. The space between sounds, the stillness between breaths, the awareness behind your own eyes watching you watch the world. Life stops being a drama you're trapped inside and starts becoming a landscape you're walking through. Beautiful, chaotic, temporary, meaningful, but not ultimate. The old gravitational pull of the ego weakens. You still play the role of you, but you aren't hypnotized by it anymore. And then something even more unexpected happens. You begin to sense that the awareness within you, the stillness that watches thoughts, actions, emotions, is not separate from the intelligence flowing through everything around you. The rustle of leaves, the rhythm of your breath, the turning of the planet, the unfolding of a conversation. They feel like expressions of one field, not separate events. The inner witness and the outer world begin to mirror each other as if they were two faces of the same presence. You don't lose your individuality. You just stop mistaking it for the whole truth. The world keeps moving. People argue, clocks tick, responsibilities pile up. But underneath it all, there is a silence that doesn't move, a stillness that doesn't break, a presence that does not come and go, even as everything else does. You start living in two worlds at once, the world of form where things change and the world of awareness where nothing ever has. And once you taste that dual vision, even for a moment, you can't return to the old way of being. Something in you refuses to fall fully asleep again. The shift is subtle at first. You walk through the world with that inner stillness humming quietly in the background, and then one day something strange happens. The boundary between the witness and the world begins to soften. The silence inside you doesn't just observe reality anymore. It starts to feel through it. A tree isn't just a tree, it vibrates with a presence you can't explain. A breeze across your face feels almost alive, as if something is touching you back. Even ordinary moments, your hand under running water, sunlight on your skin, the sound of distant laughter, carry a faint radiance, like a hidden intelligence shimmering just beneath the surface. It's not imagination, it's not sentimentality, it's perception becoming refined, so refined that the world itself shifts from object to expression. The old distance between you and it begins to dissolve. You don't just witness life, you feel woven into it. This is where consciousness crosses a threshold. Awareness is no longer a neutral observer. It becomes intimate, it becomes tender, it becomes receptive in a way that borders on devotion. The world does not feel mechanical anymore. You start sensing intention within it, not the intention of a person or a deity watching over you, but the intention of existence itself, quiet, subtle, endlessly creative. You see a stranger's face and feel a warmth that has no source. You watch someone argue and feel the pain beneath their anger instead of the anger itself. Compassion stops being a choice and becomes the default perception. You don't love because you want to. You love because you can't help it. The mind used to analyze reality, break it down, categorize it. Now without effort it bows before it, not in surrender but in reverence. Everything feels alive. Everything feels meaningful. Everything feels connected to the same stillness you met within yourself. This is not fantasy. Fantasy fades. This deepens. Neuroscientists observe this state in the form of highly synchronized gamma waves, patterns associated with awe, devotion, profound compassion. But science cannot measure the part that matters, the sense that the universe is not a cold stage but a living presence, meeting you with the same awareness you're meeting it. There is no longer a sharp line between inner and outer. The beauty you see in the world feels like the same beauty rising inside you. The divine stops being an idea and starts becoming a perception. You don't believe in God. You see God, not as a being, but as the quality of existence itself. A quiet intelligence present in every color, every movement, every breath. Love stops being something you direct at others. It becomes the lens through which you see. Compassion becomes automatic, because everything around you feels like an extension of your own being. Pain still exists. Loss still hurts. The world is still fragile. But beneath every sorrow, there is a soft glow. Something that says, this too is part of the sacred. Life no longer feels like a series of random events happening to you. It feels like the universe expressing itself through everything you experience, through your heartbeat, through your thoughts, through every person you meet. The same stillness you discovered behind your eyes begins to shine through the world itself. And once you see that, truly see it, the separation you always assumed was real begins to crumble. There is a final shift, quiet, complete and irreversible, where even the witness disappears. The observer you thought was the deepest layer, the still presence behind every experience, begins to dissolve into something far larger. It doesn't vanish. It expands. The boundary that separated the awareness inside you from the world outside you breaks open like a thin shell. And suddenly, there is no outside at all. What you once called the world is no longer something happening in front of you. What you once called yourself is no longer something happening behind your eyes. Experience stops dividing itself into inner and outer. Consciousness stops splitting itself into observer and observed. There is only one field, seamless, continuous, self-luminous. Not something you see, something you are. The universe doesn't feel distant anymore, it feels inevitable, as if you were always made of the same substance as stars, rivers, breath, and silence. The sense of being a separate experiencer falls away like old skin, leaving only the raw fact of existence itself, boundless, without edges, without beginning or end. Time collapses, not as an idea, but as experience. Past and future lose their grip. What remains is an eternal present, unmoving and infinite, within which all moments appear and disappear like waves rising and returning to the same vast ocean. You see that every sound, every thought, every sensation is simply the universe vibrating within itself. Nothing stands apart, not even you. The drop that thought it was isolated realizes it was always the ocean tasting itself in miniature. Even the concept of God dissolves here. Not because the divine is absent, but because the divine is no longer something to look toward. It is the medium of existence itself, the fabric of everything. The awareness reading these words, the space they unfold within, the intelligence that allows meaning to appear. There is no one left to seek, no one left to awaken, no one left to arrive anywhere. For the first time, you see that consciousness never climbed through levels. It never developed. It never transformed. It simply revealed more of itself, layer by layer, like a light shining through denser and denser fog until the fog itself evaporated. Deep sleep wasn't the absence of awareness. It was awareness resting as potential. Dreaming wasn't illusion. It was awareness imagining. Waking wasn't truth, it was awareness stabilizing a world. Transcendence wasn't escape, it was awareness recognizing itself. Cosmic consciousness wasn't elevation, it was awareness witnessing its own movement. God consciousness wasn't devotion, it was awareness loving itself. And unity. Unity is awareness finally remembering what it has always been, the whole, the infinite, the one without a second. The seeker dissolves into the sought. The observer dissolves into the observed. The story dissolves into the silence that was narrating it. And then one realization rises with absolute clarity, simple, direct, unavoidable. You were never the small self inside your head. You were the space it appeared in. You were the field it arose from. You were the consciousness dreaming the character called you from the very beginning. Maybe there were never 7 levels at all. Maybe consciousness was never climbing anywhere. Maybe every layer, sleep, dream, waking, silence, witnessing, love, unity, was the same awareness wearing different masks. And maybe the ultimate truth isn't that consciousness is hidden, mysterious, or distant. Maybe the ultimate truth is that it has been looking through your eyes this entire time. If something in you recognizes this, not as a concept, but as a quiet remembering, don't ignore it. Hold on to that thread. Follow it. And if you want to keep going deeper into this mystery, stay close. Subscribe and let's continue unraveling what's been watching from behind your eyes since the moment you first opened them.